Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first ever virtual CEIPAL Connect. CEIPAL Connect is a premier event for talent acquisition and HR leaders from across the world. Through a series of presentations and networking, current and prospective CEIPAL users learn how CEIPAL can enhance and expand their recruiting workflows, how to get the most functionality out of the platform, and how to prepare for adopting the newest trends and technologies shaping the future of the recruitment industry. In our first ever virtual CPAL Connect, we have 26 visionary leaders from the industry as speakers and over 1,500 plus registrants. Enjoy the opportunity to network with your industry peers, engage with industry thought leaders, and enhance your understanding of the CPAL platform. Plus, hear industry experts discuss the latest trends and emerging technologies that are impacting the staffing landscape today and driving it into the future. This half day conference has four different parallel tracks. The main track has visionary leaders from the industry who are going to speak on topics that matter today. Track 2, which is CPAL University, for everyone to learn industry best practices, how to's, etc., to build your business, manage, and engage talent, etc. Track 3 is a partner track filled with our partners from the industry who will be talking about how attendees can leverage business tactics to overcome challenges in these uncertain times. Track 4 showcases innovations in the talent management and HR technology space. With all of this being said, we also have a raffle draw at the end with exciting prizes. For any queries, please feel free to reach out to our teams on standby at the help desk and have a wonderful day. Shifting
Thanks,
gears
Divya.
here, I would now like to pass on the baton to Samir Penakalapati, founder of CEIPAL Corp, a serial entrepreneur who's invested in disruptive technology and is at the forefront of change in the industry. Over to you, Samir.
Thanks, Divya. Good day, everyone. I know we have participants from three different time zones. And today's really, I only have 12 minutes given to me by the CPAL team. So I will really quickly go through what we have. Before I do that, I have a co-presenter with me today. His name is Jit Sinha. He's an investor, marketer, came from Bain Capital and Gem Equity, and co-founded his own firm, Resolve Growth Partners, was also an investor in CPAL. He's going to talk about the market and in the industry and in our investor marketer perspective. I'm going to give a quick brief about what's a HR tech transformation and the HR tech platform outlook, and generally what are the opportunities we have during this post COVID-19 crisis, and then again, I given the time frame, I'm only bringing 3-4 different perspectives and pointers, but I think it's important to discuss, and I'm sure there are a lot more perspectives, and most of the data that I did, I'm going to share it with you through as being in the platform marketers and in the industry. We constantly look into different reports from IDC to Gartner, McKinsey, HR tech platforms, and some of the data that we collected, I think, is kind of interesting to see what the industry and the markets out there looking into the post-COVID-19 crisis. So I'm going to share my screen. Start with that. Just give me a quick minute. Share screen. And I'm going to bring my presentation really quick. I hope everybody able to see the presentation. Divya can able to see it. So we're going to talk about the transformation of HR technology and the business post COVID-19. I mentioned to you about that we were collected basically the information from various sources of the data. Two of us here, we got roughly about 12 minutes to talk about it. And I'm going to talk about the HR transformation post COVID-19, HR tech outlook, and general opportunities for services and staffing firms. And then I'll pass it on to the topic to the Jit Sinha. And I have about 4 or 5 points. I think interesting to look into. If you look at the data points here, increase in remote work, the post COVID 19, almost 48% of employees will likely work remotely some part of their time compared to 30% before pandemic. So that leaves to a lot more opportunities in terms of upgrading the technology platforms to accommodating the employees, because as you see, almost 30% increase in employee working from home. I think that leaves up to many doors and many opportunities for tech stacks and other platforms. And we'll look into those things too. And the remote hiring is another thing that we look into it consistently. Gartner talks about it. McKinsey talks about it. Remote hiring becomes a new normal. Then are we equipped with sophisticated digital onboarding platforms? There's another thing is employee assessment analytics tools. It's been there for some time, but I think it has much more relevance now, because how do we, if we have a dispersed and remote workforce, and how do we assess the employees? And there are different tools and platforms out there. For example, Dot.in.us, check it out. In this pretty cool AI platform that helps employers and employees to do assess the skills beyond just technical skills. And then text and mobile hiring. This is another thing that just it's just being a mobile force. Some of the stats and data talks about if you send information within 3 minutes, you would get a response, and within 90 seconds, 90% of those reply to it. It's just a powerful way to do it. And then recruiting becomes almost normal now, and those are the kind of things that you would see rise in the way we work. The remote hiring becomes the big thing. Reskilling is another one. Consistently, I've researched it through many topics, and every topic talks about reskilling post COVID-19. I mean, you may be wondering, why post COVID-19? I think there is more to it, and we look into it. So 15% global workforce becomes obsolete by 2030, as per the McKinsey report. That translates to almost 400 million workforce becomes obsolete their skills, so they have to relearn those things. And they've almost globally surveyed 87% global executives said that they do have a skills gap. That means they have, let's say, 100 employee workforce, and then there are at least 20-30% of those workforce are not adequately skilled to meet their current the business demand. So, that I think the reskilling becomes really a big opportunity in the future. I think the way HR is going to react to the reskilling is it's going to be an interesting topic. And we also talk about, this is something that it surprised me, right? Expand contingent workforce. 32% of organizations are replacing full-time employees with contingent workers as a cost-saving measure. It's a Gartner reported this. I think it's end of the June. 32% organizations are replacing full-time with contingent workers as a cost-saving measure. The reason this, one of the reasons that they argue with it is because the change in technology makes more of their existing current workforce becomes obsolete in lack of reskilling efforts. So they need someone to do those jobs. One of the reasons they talk about moving, expanding, accelerating the digital transformation, then you don't have all the skills in the organization. So what the organizations that keep going into, okay, we'll hire some of the contingent workers, temp staffers, temp workers who have the right skills and then get the projects done and move on to the next one. So I think that that analysis fits into it. Why we see there are more organizations are going to replace with full-time employees, replace full-time employees with temp staffers. So those are things. I mean, again, we can talk more about it. I would, if I look into it, increase remote work, remote hiring, reskilling, expand contingent workforce. Those are four big things I've seen. There are a lot more. We don't have all the time to talk about it, but at least these are the things that I think I thought it's a good to bring it up to her here. But if you look into it, like we as if you're a service organization, staffing organization, a consulting firm, and I mean these are the four areas you could see a lot more opportunities for us to expand our horizon. And I'm talking about, we did look into what are the HR tech outlook post in what are the HR technology platforms looks like in post COVID-19. I mean, I can only fit in three of them. ATS is our next marketing platform. That's an interesting perspective. Applicant tracking system is used to be a database for candidates and some basic workflow. To you look at it by 2025, 50% of the workforce is temporary. This is McKinsey's report. And with modern ATS built with powerful communication tools, like, we're looking into, do you have equipped with the text hiring, mobile hiring, and a complete emails, two-way email syncs? Have you equipped with the behavioral analytics? How, if you have 50% workforce is temporary, 50% workforce, and the rest of the workforce is you have 30 to 48% of them some part of their time working from home. How are you going to assess them, and how are you going to measure their performance, their various employee assessment platforms? So I think they expect that ATS is bring those assessment platforms or some kind of integration to closely monitor those. And also, we also talk about any free assessment analysis platforms for employees. There's another one. Expected to take away 80% of the recruiters' workload, because these platforms are getting more and more automation. That means the AI is going to drive a lot of these things. Then recruiters is going to spend more time with actual candidates than not on the process side of it. And workforce analytics will be part of hiring. This is another interesting topic that I've seen. 90% of hires today are based on skills assessment. Most of them will look into it. Okay, are they fit for the skills? And then that's all I want to hire it. But I think, the perspective and the outlook is going to change the way it is. And okay, how about the fitment analysis? Is this candidate either full time or a temp worker is going to fit for this project? Or do they have right team dynamics that they can get through these projects and platforms? So those are the kind of things that we're going to see it more and more. Workforce analytics, we have seen it for a CEIPAL platform. We integrated with the Dot-in as a workforce analytics platform. It's pretty cool if you actually look into it. Go to Dot-in.us and take your own assessment platform. It it actually gives you pretty good about various aspects and attributes of someone just taking out your resume. It takes your LinkedIn profile and gives you an analysis report. So those are going to be play an important role. And this is something that Mayo Clinic talks about, employee well-being index, because anxiety, isolation, stress, and other mental disorders are the rise, the post-COVID crisis, even during the crisis. And the cost to U.S. businesses, you would not believe, is $300 billion is what estimated annually. It's a staggering the productivity loss for U.S. businesses because of this. And then global organizations noticed this, and they are making an effort and looking into HRMS platforms with a lot of wellness apps, mental assessment platforms, and then some help, some sort of help to employees and stuff. So we look at these things, and we thought, okay, we invite. So we have a session at I think a track 1 at 12 to 12:30. Gavin Gilbrand, he's a healthy habits and nutritionist, so he has a half-hour session. So check it out. He talks something about this, and I think it's very interesting. I know I'm running out of my time. I want to give you a really quick 1 minute. We actually look into what happened to the IT spend in the globally. So the the black curve represents the United States. You see that how drastically the spend went down in the last 6 months from January to June this year, and the projection is come back in next 6 months to 12 months. But just kind of gives you what we're facing here is an impact in the economy. And one last thing, what are the opportunities we have for staffing and services firms? Accelerating digital transformation. So there is actually a saying that, hey, who is driving the digital transformation today? Is a CEO or a CFO or a COVID-19? People think it is COVID-19. It's funny, but I think that's a fact. It's just accelerating the whole new thing. So we're looking into the new e-commerce platforms. Enterprise automation is a big thing. RPA is going to play a major role. Cloud security, because now look at it, the millions of workforce working from home, their systems are secure, and I think there's a lot more going to employee work tracker, in virtual in and out employees and measuring their and in the productivity and all of that. Talent acquisition is a big thing. Workforce automation, integrated communication platforms like can I do text, email, virtual conference, everything through within the platform, within the ATS. If you don't have it, maybe it's time to look into it again. Total talent management. Where do we find people? So with this, I am leaving it to Jit Sinha for the presentation. So Jit is next to you.
Well, good morning to you, and good morning and happy Friday to everyone on the line. It's been our pleasure at Resolve. I'm the founder and managing partner of Resolve, to know Samir and his management team over the last several years. And when Samir and the team asked me to present to you all this morning, my first reaction was, are you sure you have the right speaker? And in part because as an investor, we don't come from the staffing industry. All of you are tied in many respects to the ecosystem of the staffing industry. That is not my background. Our background is exclusively investing in growth stage software companies like CEIPAL, where we're partnering with founding teams like Samir and his team. And despite the fact that we don't come from a staffing background, I actually think that there may be some elements of what led us to invest in CEIPAL about a year and a half ago that may resonate for you all as an audience. And so while I have you in that first 30 seconds when you're paying attention to me, just 3 words that I want to emphasize here as themes for us to talk about. The first, to Samir's point, transformation. The second, innovation. And the last one, partnership. Those 3 words, the key themes I want to spend a moment on today. So transformation, and very much echoing Samir's comments, digital transformation is taking place everywhere across every industry and moving quickly. The interesting part from an investor standpoint, sitting in our shoes, is having been in these kinds of roles now for the last 20 years, so much of what happened up until maybe 5 or so years ago was investing into the most innovative end markets. So the bulk of my investment career has been spent on what's the most interesting new security technology? What's the most interesting new technology for the financial services marketplace, where innovation is very much a cost of doing business and a big part of how different firms drive competitive advantage. The secret, even pre-COVID, of what was happening in the investment community and certainly happening to a firm like Resolve is we were looking for the pockets and the end markets that had been historically underserved by technology, and where there was opportunity to transform these industries through investments in software and related technologies. And so I'll give you examples. A lot of where we've spent time in our recent past is investing in companies serving the federal, state, or local government, investing in companies that serve K-12 or higher education, university education, investing in companies in laggard industries like energy, serving the oil and gas or mining or related markets. These have not been historically early adopters of tech, but now there's a lot of drivers that are pushing them in that direction. What I think is unique about you all is I want to talk for a moment about the drivers of these transformation initiatives elsewhere. So often it's quality of service, that the ways in which things have been done in the past don't actually marry that well to what audiences are looking for going forward. Here's a simple one. We're all sitting in our homes in this environment. I have children. They're in school. Maybe like yours, they've now been experiencing remote learning for the last number of months, and that's difficult. And what that's done is it was already happening and now will further accelerate investment into a set of technologies and enabling infrastructure to actually serve our children in a remote environment. So quality of service is one core dimension that we see in many markets driving this need for transformation. Another simple one, cost savings. So many of you know where, as a result of the global COVID challenges, where oil and gas and oil markets are trading. So a number of our technologies and investments in the past have focused on what are ways in which we can drive down the cost of exploration or production to enable us to run a more profitable business through direct cost savings by investments in infrastructure and technology. So you see these take place in a range of end markets that are not the staffing end market, but nonetheless have some adjacency. I think what is interesting and very transformative for the staffing market specifically is we call it the markets where it's a business imperative to survive. And I certainly don't mean that with any drama, but you all operate in a highly competitive market where in the best of times, it's a thin margin industry. There's high cyclicality, so the good times are good times and the tough times can be very bad times. And you serve very demanding end customers. And so in all of those ways, the need to really leverage technology as a basis for differentiation, as a basis for higher quality service to your end customer, as a basis for a lower cost base for yourselves, there's a lot of opportunity in all those areas that we think makes it critical. And I would echo Sameer's point that COVID, number of these trends in our view were taking place prior to COVID. Now, they become even more critical to the future of an industry like yours. So those are a little bit of my comments around transformation and the need for it specifically in the staffing end market. Secondly, I want to spend one moment on innovation. So, when I think of innovation, i.e., who are vendors and partners like CEIPAL who are innovating in your industry, the analogy I think of is houses. So we go out as consumers, we're thinking about a house, we're looking at a beautiful house, that's modern and new, we're looking at something that's 20 years old, we're looking at something that's 50 years old. And even in our personal lives, the reality is that beautiful, quaint house that might be 50 years old is going to have a lot of work to do in terms of upgrades and changes and things that we may not be able to immediately see from the outside. That analogy is so much more true in tech. The difference between a company that was started in 2000 versus 2005 versus 2010 versus 2000, these are entire generations of variation in terms of the underlying quality of what has likely been built. And I think the core message that I want to emphasize to you all, specifically related to CEIPAL, specifically related to our work understanding this business, is by far, this is the most modern, most integrated, most disruptive offering that has come forward in this market for some time. And as students of this particular market from a software vendor perspective for a long time, I think we had very high confidence that both at the time when CEIPAL came to market, they were already in a meaningful way positioned to have a significant technological advantage. That's one part of it. The other part in innovation is innovation. There's a piece which is effectively, when did your house get built, and are you set up as a result to not have downstream problems? The other part is how do you drive ongoing innovation? And that's a really critical differentiator between those who end up serving customers effectively and those who don't. And as a software investor, the key function that we think matters inside a company like CEIPAL to get this right is an area that we call product management. And it effectively sits at the intersection of three things. One is deeply, deeply understanding what customers and prospects like you are looking for, number one. Number two, having an understanding of competitors and competitors' capabilities. And last is a sense of internally for a software vendor, our own engineering capabilities and how do we enhance and augment that to serve the needs of the customers. This function in this company at CEIPAL is the strongest area. So their consistent ability to innovate and to invest. Our investment dollars have gone into continuing to drive a very aggressive, transformative roadmap that serves your needs. And that's been very much a focus for all of us from the very start. So transformation to start, innovation as a second point. And the last one, which I think can be sometimes a little bit soft in nature, but I think is very critical, is partnership. So the words software as a service, SaaS, which has taken over everywhere, there can often be a lot of emphasis on the first S, the software part, and maybe the second S, service, is not discussed as much as it should be. We have to ensure that customers are satisfied with what we're doing for them over the long term, and that applies in everything. That's the capabilities of the offering, that's how it's priced, that's how it's supported. Where I think Samir and his team have been so maniacally focused from the very beginning is ensuring that what we do is done in a spirit of partnership with our end customers. And I think that theme is one that you will see through over the course of today. It's what's driven in so many respects the success of the business to this point. And I think it'll be a big part of the success going forward. So those are the three core thoughts that I wanted to share with you. You're in a market where it's, I think, going to be an imperative to continue to adapt to this sort of particular crisis around COVID-19. And as you do that, I would highly encourage you to think about who will serve me in terms of innovation and who will be a strong partner to us going forward. So with that, I'll conclude for today with Samir and the team. I will turn it back over to you. Thank you for having me.